This is chapter 182 of The Flower of Freedom by Deborah J. Reeves. All rights to both the book and presentation are reserved. We welcome you, as long as you brought your good heart and your good intentions, because we are enjoying our virtuous cycle project. We hope that by sowing a little bit of rest, relaxation, hope, good ideas, something into you, you'll have a little something in your cup that you can pour out onto someone else. We're not talking about big things here. Hold a door, pick up something that was dropped, help an elderly person or a child, someone who needs your strength, and you may be shocked that their strength is available to you. This is the essence of a virtuous cycle, but don't always expect it to come back from the person to whom you gave it. You may find it comes from the most unexpected directions. Here we go, chapter 182, The Deliveries. Colette dragged her mind back to the present moment, and she draped a woolly shawl over Marie's shoulders. Marie would have to wear one of Colette's winter coats draped over her shoulders because Marie's was still covered in Philippe's blood. Colette had retrieved the peace lily brooch. She had wept fat tears as she washed it clean of Philippe's blood the previous night, and try as she might, she could do nothing but smear the blood on Marie's coat. Mother and daughter both cried as Colette pinned the brooch to the shawl. They smiled through their tears, hoping to give their last bit of hope to sustain the other. Bertie was just coming out of the bathroom when Marie emerged from the bedroom. He was carrying Alicia, who was dressed in the little pinafore that Philippe had given her. "I'm not sure that this is the right thing to say today, Marie, but Philippe told me that you were the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen when he was standing next to me at the altar the last time you wore that dress." Marie's hungry, sad eyes said a silent thank you, and she and Colette headed for the stairs. Bertie called after them, "We'll be down in a minute. Marie, I'll be there for you all day, I promise." Colette ran back downstairs to dress as soon as Oscar came up, dressed for the funeral. She had chosen their clothing the night before. Soon everyone was standing at the front door. They were ready. The twins appointed themselves traffic directors. "Bertie, you need to take Alicia in your car. Car and I will take Marie and Mama and Papa in ours. Don't worry. We'll ride with you and Alicia on the way back." Bertie wondered at the overnight change in the boys. "Sounds like a good plan," he replied. When they arrived at the basilica, they walked past the small segment of lawn where the nativity sat, always stood at Christmas, thinking about sacrifices. They climbed the stairs right behind Philippe's parents, who turned up at the top and stopped to hug Marie just outside the doors. After his father had hugged her first, and when Philippe's mother finally released her, they went in through the doors to get out of the wind. Marie held out a little burgundy box. "Philippe and I found this for you. He thought you would love it." Christine gasped when she saw the brooch, and her hand was shaking so badly that Emmanuel took her coat, and then he pinned the bright and shining sunflower to the neckline of her dress not far from her heart. It stood shining on the black background. Marie was relieved when she realized that Christine was touched, not hurt. She wouldn't want to hurt Christine for the whole world. Christine's hand kept moving up toward the flower to touch it. "Maybe he never knew that they were my favorite because they were his favorite when he was little. Thank you, Marie. I see now that you're wearing his current favorite, Peace Lily, two standing side by side. How appropriate." The twins approached Madame and Monsieur Departout just then. They stood like little soldiers, and Carr began. Flip told us to ask you for your permission to call you Mama aussi. And then Desi said, Is it okay if we call you Papa aussi? The older people fell to their knees to hug the little boys, and the boys grinned at one another. Flip always knows, Desi beamed. Carr responded, He said they'd like it. Carr said it with pride. The attention span of little boys is sometimes short, and they can be utterly distracted by their next goal. It was then that they saw a key lingering behind the group. They singled him out and they ran to him in a beeline, crashing past other mourners. Uncle a key, they yelled as they hugged his legs. The older man was somewhat bewildered and surprised by their attentions. He bent down to speak to them, and they hugged him around the neck, and they both started whispering furiously into his ears. He looked up, and his eyes almost begged to be rescued. Oscar caught up with them and said, Boys, give Uncle a key. A moment, please. He's not used to your roughhousing ways. It was the twins' turn to be surprised. They looked chagrined, and Carr said to Desi, This is important. You go first. Oscar watched Aki's eyebrows fly up in astonishment at what Desi whispered into his ear. Then it was Carr's turn, and he watched Aki's expression register even more amazement. Aki looked from Desi to Carr. Did he say Oxford? Desi responded, Yeah, he said that word, but we don't know what that means. Then Aki looked at the boys with tenderness. Clearing his throat, he said, Thank you, boys. I'll never forget how kind you've been to an old man today. Thank you for delivering those messages. I promise that I will try to do as Flip asked. I promise I will, and I hope you'll come to visit me in Paris as soon as your parents are ready. They nodded with vigor, and they went back to their main mission. They were there to protect Bertie and Marie. That's the end of chapter 182. It won't be long now before the end of The Flower of Freedom. And I remain your friend Deb, who asks you please to press like and press a thumbs up so that more people can take advantage of what we're offering the world. We're offering the small, tiny, seed-like beginnings of a virtuous cycle of kindness. I remain your friend Deb. Bye-bye.